Well, initially, when we'd all seen our helicopter overfly the planned extraction zone and on a trajectory to land out in the open in a position where we knew was vulnerable to enemy fire, we immediately knew that we were in for a gunfight. We knew that the second that we rounded the corner from the relative safety of those mud brick compounds, that we would be in the line of sight to the enemy. So we were expecting a gunfight. And indeed, as we started to round the corner and make our way up the hill towards the helicopter, we could immediately hear the crack and thump of the high-velocity rounds coming overhead, and so started to make best pace towards this helicopter. And my initial thought here was that the soldier in front of me was running relatively slow, given that he was being shot at. And it hadn't occurred to me, I didn't realise who he was at the time, but it turned out that that particular soldier, the reason he wasn't running as fast as I thought he might have under those circumstances was because he had a significant injury to his leg. So this guy had a big chunk blown out of his leg just 2 weeks before on a different mission, and had had some surgery for that and still had this pretty fresh surgical wound. But despite all of this, he'd been back out on the job just 2 weeks later. So he was slowed down by this injury. If you want to know more about that situation, I managed that soldier on the mission 2 weeks prior as well, and you can read about that in my book, The Combat Doctor. But that was my initial thought, was why is this guy going so slow? And then we sort of made our way over this little ditch, and I could see that some of the soldiers were starting to engage. So soldiers to the right of me, in front of me, had taken a knee and were engaging the enemy forces. As I made my way closer to the helicopter, I thought that at that point I knew there was a lot of soldiers behind me still to come, and that the best thing I could be doing was to take a knee next to the guys under the helicopter and start putting down some suppressive fire myself.